I found a AI. Oh shit! I found an AI program that edits the podcast for me.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
So like 5 hours of work gets cut down to no shit. Like this, like the average 2-hour podcast gets edited in 45 seconds.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds a lot nicer.
Yeah.
That's something I'm actually not mad at AI taking over for, because like
Yeah.
that's just
Tedious
kinda
stuff
busy
like
work.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could, if you want, we could bounce off of that. Does AI worry you guys? Because it scares the fucking shit out of me.
It mainly,
Terrifies me.
I'm mainly scared about it taking away jobs from people.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting, but
So because I saw this trend going around, it's on TikTok, and I don't know why they decided these two celebrities, but it's a deep fake of Jenna Ortega, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Margot Robbie, and they're just dancing, but the faces look photo identical.
really.
And I saw it across my algorithm, and I looked at the comments. I was like, "Yep, that's AI."
Have you seen the
Oh,
stuff with
shit.
Britney Spears and how people are? It's like a conspiracy theory that it's not actually Britney Spears and it's them doing a deep fake of her. But they've like zoomed in on her teeth and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Kind of does seem like a deep fake. Like,
Oh
It's
shit!
pretty sus.
Yeah.
That's scary. Well, so as musicians, thank you for being here. First of all.
yeah.
Thank you for coming by. I love the album, and I really want to get into it. This is actually a question I was going to save for later, but AI music is a thing.
Yeah.
How do you guys just feel about that in general? Because after listening to that record a couple of times, it's clear there's a lot of work put into it.
Yeah.
And you could obviously say that about like music in general, that people put work into their stuff, like obviously. But as there's 4 of you in total, but the 3 of you that have worked on this album, and you see AI music starting to take over, like how do you feel about that? Freshly coming off of like all the work and the time and the recording and the writing, like how do you feel about that now?
Yeah, to go back to the thing about why it's like scary about the AI thing is that it is so good now. Because I remember there was that trend of everyone doing the AI does me like as a selfie, does portraits in different styles and stuff, and like that's so tempting to look into.
I did,
remember,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I didn't think
No, I
about
get
it. I
it.
just impulsively did it, and then I was like, oh, I didn't think about the repercussions of that.
I feel like 10 years ago, like people would talk about like, you know, automation of stuff. Like, you know, factories are mostly run by machines and so much like manual things are done by machines. And it was like, but the arts are what we'll always have is like the human thing that
Yeah.
machines can't do. So then when I started seeing that kind of stuff, it was like, oh no, they can do it. Like they
Right.
can do it in a convincing way, you know, and,
It still won't have that like emotion behind it, but the
Right.
fact that it's still convincing, like it could
But
fool someone. That's
lately with all the voice covers that they can do,
The
where they
SpongeBob
can,
ones?
Okay,
Start with SpongeBob.
I found one where it's like Mr. Krabs and Squidward.
Have you seen the
and,
diss tracks?
Have
Like,
you seen-
oh my god.
Have you seen
Yes.
Plankton singing Diamonds by
Yeah,
Rihanna?
Dude.
'Cause
I
it's like-
have.
The plankton ones are fire.
Right, but that's kind of what I mean, because like, yes, on a deeper level, if you're the kind of person who wants to get like absorbed in art and wants to like immerse yourself in it, I think
Yeah.
you could kind of see the line between the two still. But I think for the average person who's just like, you know, wanting to listen to something, which is honestly where most musicians make their money, is
Yeah.
people who just want to kind of casually listen and
Which has been a big
consume
problem
it.
for
Yeah,
me,
so
at least,
that's
in the
where
band.
that's where I get worried about AI kind of taking over, is like things like, you know, royalty based music people that write for commercials or for movies or jingles, all that kind of stuff. Like that's super easy for AI.
Oh,
to do,
that's
I'm sure.
gone. I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today.
Yeah,
in,
I'm sure
in
that's-
5 years, that's like elevator music, Target music,
Mm-hmm.
your the
music.
the Toyota-thon music. That's gone.
Yeah.
like
which
goodbye.
sucks because the change could have been like such a good elevator song or like a mall.
That's a great song, and it should not be played in an elevator. It deserves so
Eventually,
much more.
Like 7 years from now, because it's usually like older stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
it's like Ariana Grande's like 2016 songs. Like they're getting played
Yeah.
at like Target, so it's
Well, because I think about it, and I think I'm sure it's going to get there, but at least for now, I think it's more challenging for an AI system to come up with something brand new rather than say make a Post Malone song about, because Post Malone they talked about this when he went on Rogan a couple days ago, and he was like, yeah, there's AI now that you could tell, like, make a Post Malone song about a breakup and it's acoustic and you center the song around me, my ex's name is this is what they did to me, and then it pops out a song. So I think like it's more scary for the established artists, because you have hours and hours and hours of their inflections and the way they sing, the way they like alter their voice, and then if they've done so many podcasts, they've done so many interviews, now you have them at a regular like tone of voice, and then now you have again like someone like Post Malone who can do like a melody, who can scream, who can harmonize, and do all this range of stuff. That's who I think should be worried first.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I find that very... And you guys
probably won't get any Almost Always Never AI.
Hey, you never know. You never know. So
you'll get it, it just won't be very good.
Yeah.
It'll still have the robot feel.
So how long have you guys been around as a band?
So, and he's going to be a baby about this, Garen.
Apparently.
I started the band.
No, I actually started this band.
Stop.
While I was in high school.
I started the band.
4 years ago?
It
right?
was February of 2019 is when we kind of officially, I would say, got things together. It was a friend of mine at the time, Cameron, and just like a couple other people. There was this girl that Cameron had dated that was in the band for like a month, and she played violin, and then
And
that
it always
didn't-
works out well.
Yeah, no, it didn't work out at all.
Weren't both of the other members just Tinder matches from him?
No, Jess was a friend of
Okay.
the Tinder match girl, who I can never remember the name of.
Tinder's actually going to come up a lot in this conversation.
It actually will, yeah.
Actually,
Cause, okay, and then it was my friend Andrew from high school, and he was originally playing drums. And then we needed a bassist when Jess had to leave the band, because she was like moving. And we made a band Tinder, and we matched with Cesar, who he did the drums for this album.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, we ended up liking him a lot and being able to vibe with him. So that was, it was Garen and I, it was Cameron, it was Andrew and Cesar. And that was like the first solid group. And we had our first gig August 16th of 2019.
Okay.
We count that as kind of like our anniversary day. So that's why we're
Okay.
releasing the album the weekend
Nice.
after August 16th.
Didn't
August
Tinder
19th.
like get mad at you guys for using it?
Yes,
Didn't they ban your account?
I had already been banned on another email. I think because that was the second time I used Tinder to try to find a band member. Because I think I was trying to find, I think it was still a bassist. It was before we found Jess or something. I can't remember.
No, I thought we were looking for a drummer.
Maybe. Yeah, I can't remember. I
I'm
had already
shocked
used it for
there's
something.
not a Tinder for
I know,
musicians.
and I
There is.
looked.
There is.
It's just not popular.
It's just no one uses it.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Facebook Marketplace, but okay, yeah.
No,
Sure.
it's
we
like
tried. We tried. What do you call it? Where you sell shit?
Craigslist?
Craigslist.
I mean, yeah, there's that, but like, I can't remember. I still get emails from it.
Yeah,
'Cause-
no, I can't remember the name, but yeah, there
They're
was
saying,
technically
please use our
something.
site, please.
It just, yeah, no one uses it. So I tried Tinder, and Tinder did not like that. And I made an email saying like, I think the name is like, I just want a Tinder, please, at gmail.com. And they saw right through it. And I used like other people's information, and Tinder hates me.
Yeah.
Didn't you
luckily-
get our mom banned
Yeah.
from Tinder?
Yeah, I got her
Yeah,
banned from Tinder because I used her email. And they somehow knew it was me still.
They got that AI working on it.
I know.
Sussing you out.
I was still too young to get banned from Tinder.
Yeah.
That's
well,
funny.
yeah, so I can never have a Tinder again, so.
When did I join the band?
When did you join the band? Summer of 2020.
So right, like in the thick
thick
of
of it,
COVID.
So we had like a few like people move in and out of the band, things move around. But yeah, we were in need of a guitarist. And it was mainly, we had like 4 candidates, and we were kind of like doing interviews. We did a lot like online. We had them send in videos, and then What was the process? It was
They
like
send you guys like headshots and
We had,
shit
like-
and
No,
like 30-second tryouts.
We had like
Mine was, like, 4
12
minutes.
candidates.
Well, yeah. To start off with, we had like 12 candidates, and they all sent in. I think we asked them to like do like a couple of songs and just send us videos of them playing, and then we narrowed it down to like 6 or something. From there, we did video interviews with them, and then we narrowed it down to 4, and then we had those 4 come in, and we were wearing masks and everything, and they had to learn a couple of our songs. I can't remember which songs we did, and honestly, we probably
And this is summer of 2020.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
might not have even been songs that are on this album now. But yeah, they had to learn those songs, and then we narrowed it down to 2, and they had to choose a song for us to cover as a band, because I wanted to see like what they thought of us stylistically, what they thought, what kind of direction we might want to
What
go
was
into.
the weirdest one you got?
I mean, it was only 2. He chose. Do you want to? You can
It was
talk
this,
about your choice.
Song called "Guilty Filthy Soul" by AWOL Nation. The guys that did "Sail"
Yeah.
back in the day. But
Yeah.
I was gonna pick a Red Hot Chili Peppers song because I'm a big redhead, but that wouldn't have flown over well. So I'm glad I pulled back on that one.
Didn't Cesar tell you not to choose
Yeah, he
that?
gave me a warning. He was like, I was like, how about this? He was like, I
was like,
wouldn't.
Garan
And I was
would
like,
not.
Okay, cool.
You're so lucky you didn't do that.
You're so lucky I didn't do that.
You're both lucky. Yeah, the other candidate was Ken, he's in Red Heather, and I think he's been playing with Gray Star Ghost, which is really cool. I need to catch one of their shows. But he had us cover Fooled Around and Fell in Love, and that was a really fun cover, too.
That does sound pretty sick.
But it was
Who's that by?
Elvis Bishop. Is that
Elvis
his
Bishop,
name?
I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the Guardian soundtrack.
Yeah, from
Oh,
the first
okay.
Guardians movie.
Fooled around.
Oh,
and
yeah.
fell in
Okay.
love.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, they were
Spicy.
both, like, really solid songs. Like, we had fun, but they're pretty different, you know? And I think we definitely wanted to go more into, like, alternative, like, a little bit more, like, experimental direction.
Yeah.
I loved that song. I had never heard it before, Guilty Filthy Soul, but it was a banger.
Yeah, I definitely get a more like Tame Impala, like Pink Floyd
Yeah.
type, genre. Like, if you had to classify yourself as a genre or genres, where do you feel like you guys would fall?
I like to call us art rock.
Yeah, I think that's our favorite right now. It kind of implies that we're experimental, like, artsy, like, aesthetic,
Yeah, 'cause
and rock.
We've been down the rabbit hole of like several different like we're sometimes psychedelic. It's sometimes like I think if you look at like our influences, it's changes from song to song. Sometimes it's like more indie. Sometimes like in the past we had a song that was like almost kind of like
Reggae.
like
Yeah.
but not authentic. And so because sometimes we'll go harder and like go softer, you know. And so it feels weird to call us just indie because then sometimes it'll get kind of gritty and like it feels less mellow than indie, but then other times it really is like the psychedelic side of things where it's like this is kind of like music that I want someone to like sit in their bedroom and like just like stare at their ceiling and listen to this kind of stuff. So
Just completely veg out and enjoy the music.
I want like listening to this album, I want it to be like I want the person listening to be like in the chair one song and then up moving around the next, and then like you know kind of the flow of motion around the room is like what the goal would be.
I have never thought about it that way.
Well,
How would you digest it?
Um,
Or here's a better way to frame that question. How would you want someone to experience this?
I guess just like going through their life, and that's how I listen to music. So I like to just kind of walk around whenever I hear a new album.
yeah.
So just, like, on the go, like, maybe in your car, or just, like...
I
Can't
love
relate
like
to the car, but yeah.
my favorite one is like my favorite way to experience like an album is whenever I go somewhere new, like if I'm ever traveling somewhere, and like I always try to pick an album that like kind of fits that location a little bit, and then I'll just play that on loop, because then for me when I come home, every time I listen to that album in the future, I like think of the place I've been.
That's fair.
It's pretty good.
Where do
Yeah.
you think we fit with
Yeah.
this album?
Where are we?
El Paso.
Stop.
Why El Paso?
I spent a lot of time down in that shitty little town.
I think of El Paso as like small and weird, and it's just like I hear a lot of different things happen down
You
there.
don't just think of El Paso, the song?
I don't know the El Paso song.
Yeah, neither do I.
Down in the West Texas town of El Paso.
Oh,
See, you guys are from Texas, and I'm not. So that's-
Did you watch Breaking Bad?
yeah, of course, but didn't
Pretty hard to
didn't
miss.
digest that one.
Anyway, Spencer's outed us that we grew up in Texas.
Oh, wonderful. We have
Yeah,
to talk
love
about
that.
that.
What part of Texas? I'm about to move to Texas here in about a year and a half. So
Oh, good
Oh,
luck.
my, where are you moving?
the plan's Austin.
I mean, Austin is
Austin's
that's
pretty
Good
good.
choice.
Yeah,
about
the
as
plan,
good
the
as you
plan,
can get in
well,
Texas.
well, I want to do like I want to live life in Austin, but I'll live like outside of the city, so I'm
Yeah.
not
That's the
paying
way to
like
do it.
$3,000 a month
Yeah.
for a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment.
We visited like a year or two ago, Spencer and I, to visit one of my friends there, and we got an Airbnb like right outside of Austin, and
Yeah.
it was
Like
nice
a
and affordable.
$600 difference, I bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah, I keep having friends that move down there at least once every 2 months. Another group of friends move down there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
motherfucker.
I mean,
That-
smaller towns in Texas are they're pretty affordable.
Yeah, and that's just everything that I want to do is going on down there.
Yeah.
So it just seems so much better than fuck. I am born and raised here in New Mexico, and I
Yeah.
am over it. I gotta say. So, what part of Texas are you two from?
So he was born in
San Antonio.
San Antonio. I was born in Denton, but most of our childhoods took place in Woodway, which is like right next to Waco, Texas.
Waco.
Yeah.
That's a fun history
Wacko,
of the town,
Waco. Ha ha ha.
huh? So how did you guys end up here?
My dad, or our dad,
mine.
he got some kind of job offer here. I don't know. I mean, after like the 2008 housing crisis, they had to file for bankruptcy and everything. I think it was just
Yeah,
like,
there was just more work out here in Albuquerque. than-
yeah. And then we like had some like family here too.
Okay.
I think my parents had always liked Albuquerque, so they were like, yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, it's been a while. We moved in 2010, so it's been like 13 years now, but
So, has music always been a part of your guys' lives, or is that kind of like a newer addition as you started becoming an adult?
my dad loved singing and sang to us all the time.
Yeah, and we grew up, he was doing a lot of musical theater, so
Yeah.
we basically like lived at those rehearsals when he was doing that.
Yeah.
And I always like look
And
back
choir
on that,
too.
and
He
that
did
really
like church choir.
influenced me, I think, a lot more than I realized at that age.
Oh, for sure.
But
yeah.
hanging out with like the little shop stuff, like that really. that
Yeah,
really
and Gypsy.
yeah.
Gypsy was really fun too. Yeah, so definitely like kind of theater kids. It was just, a little like community theater in Waco, Texas. So like it wasn't huge, but it was definitely cool to be around. So yeah, I think those were probably like both of our like first.
And how old
introductions.
were you at that point?
That would have been. I mean, I remember like singing for show and tell. I wouldn't even bring anything. I'd just like make up a song like kindergarten, and then around the time of those productions, I was probably like 9, 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have been around like
So you were like
5, 6.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
mine
yeah,
was-
pretty young.
Mine was a little like later. Like didn't have a specific interest in music at all. Like until high school, I did band since 6th grade, but like I hated it. Like I didn't. Well, I hated beginning band, and then after that, I could get into jazz band, and jazz band could take the cool trips up to Colorado and stuff like that. So it was like at least there's something I'm getting out of this. I played trombone, and I was like,
I was gonna say everyone in band in middle school, like, they were in fucking pain.
yeah,
Like the
Yeah.
flute players just
No,
wanted
it's-
to stab themselves in the neck with their own flute.
I loved
actually-
middle school band.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I'm a music teacher with elementary school now, but I went to school for all of them, and we're learning about stuff, and they're like, now some of your kids, like they're gonna be, you gotta find the instrument that they want to play, and I was like, does any middle schooler want to play any of these instruments? Because I didn't want to play any of them, but it's like totally a thing. There's like some kids who like absolutely love the clarinet and love all those kinds of things.
See, my middle school had the rock and rhythm program. I went to Jefferson Middle
I
School,
wish I had one of
and
those.
I wanted so badly to be in that class, and they just didn't let me in any year. And granted, I mainly wanted to sing, but it probably would have been cool to like learn to play an
They probably
instrument.
got a lot of kids who wanted to sing too.
Of
It's just
course.
oh, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, because what year was that? Out of curiosity.
I went to middle school. It was like 2010 to
So
2013.
yeah, so that's the boom. Well, the tail end of the boom of Guitar Hero and Rock Band. So every kid
Oh, yeah.
in middle school and high school and the beginning of college, because they're drinking alone from their parents for the first time, and they're all playing Rock Band. They're
Yeah.
all playing Guitar Hero, and they all think they could be the next Slash or the next
Oh,
Tom
yeah, for
Morello, Eddie Van Halen. So that makes complete sense.
Honestly, though, I think if I had been in rock and rhythm, I probably would have been more down to learn keys. I
Interesting.
think that's
Key
probably
supremacy.
yeah. I liked the aesthetic more of keys. And yeah, I didn't want to be like the Guitar Hero kids.
I was in piano as a little kid, and I fucking hated it
Yeah.
with everything in my like. The only things that I enjoyed learning in piano, I learned how to play like the theme song to Halloween,
Nice.
and then like,
Yeah.
God, what was the theme song to Pink Panther,
Oh,
the
hell yeah.
old
Yeah.
school
Yeah,
Pink
yeah.
Panther. I didn't learn how to play that, but other than that, I hate it.
A lot of
That's
piano
not bad.
teachers are terrible at
Yes.
engaging their students. And I say that I'm a piano teacher, and yeah, a lot of them just do not care to try and engage their students where they are at.
I think that's a lot of
And, yeah.
teachers, unfortunately. I mean, you
It's-
get people who, because you can be really good at something but not know how to teach it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a tough job. I think that's like one of the hardest parts about it is like being able to empathize with your students. And like, I'm not gonna toot my own horn because I still got a lot of ways to go. But like one of the reasons I felt confident that I could be a teacher is because I didn't like these things as a kid. Like I didn't like music as a kid. I didn't like school in general. But like now that I'm older, I just like love learning shit. Like absorbing like anything you throw at me. Like I just love absorbing like information. And so like
Because you have the power of choice now.
Yeah.
exactly.
As a kid, you're getting it shoved down your
That
throat
was
whether
what
you
was
like it or not.
Yeah. So back to the music thing. Like I didn't like trombone and band because I was like forced to be in that. But then in 8th grade, I went to my uncle's house, who's a drummer, and someone had left a bass guitar and an amp in his side room, and I just found it and figured out how to plug it in and like started just playing some stuff. And he came in and was like, "Oh, you like the bass?" And I was like, "It's pretty cool." And then he was like, "You can take it home."
It's like it's the
And-
loudest thing in here that's not a drum.
Yeah, right. No, it's so crazy when you plug in a bass because you can't tell where the sound's coming from. Like any other like amplified thing, like it's coming from over there. But I plugged in the bass and I played the first note, and it's just like the room was like vibrating.
Yeah.
Because your brain can't identify where the frequency is. So I was like, this is fucking cool. Can we swear on this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Look at the sign, bro.
I said
I think
shit
cursing
earlier.
is the least of our worries.
Hell yeah. So I took that home, and then it was like, painstaking trombone practice every day. I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking do this. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like playing bass for like 3 hours just because like it was my choice to play the bass.
It's so
you know?
crazy. You are
And
like
so-
the only person
I
who
disagree.
started on bass.
I know a lot. So it's funny. So
And
this
fell in love with
same story, just like that. So me and my buddies, when we were in high school, we had. I'm shocked it didn't take off as much as we loved it. There was this video game called Rocksmith, where you.
Was that the one with the guitar that like
Yeah.
actually like?
So no, you plug in your own guitar,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
there was
that's
an
what it was.
adapter for your PlayStation or your Xbox. And so I had my electric, and then my buddy Dom, he had his bass. And depending on how much we were drinking that night, we would start with the regular guitar.
Yeah.
Figure, hey, I'm too drunk to play this, so we press the. It was like a System of a Down song on easy mode, and
Yeah.
it was just boop boop boop
Yeah,
boop
yeah.
boop boop on the bass guitar. We did that till we passed out at night.
Oh,
And my buddy Dom just fell in love with the bass. He doesn't play too much anymore, but he loved that shit. I've become good friends with the guys over in the slums. Zach, he fucking loves it. He didn't love it at first, but he loves playing bass for that band now. Like, but bass players, they're a different breed of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I migrated to guitar kind of because of the band. It was more or less my COVID like project. The thing I was locked away to figure out how to do. I was like, I'll audition. I own a guitar. I have a couple pedals and stuff. But like, before that, I was like, if I was to consider myself an instrumentalist, it would be mostly the bass, the one that I like the most. It's just like I said, like the way it like feels when you play it. It's just like a totally different thing. Yeah, shit. It's like it is easier than guitar in a sense because you have more space to work with, and or I guess I should say it's easier for someone with like big hands and
Yeah.
that can reach because guitar, like I switched to guitar and I still have trouble with this hand, like with all the nuance that it takes to play strings that are that close together and not hit them together and not bump into them with the other hand. Like that's too much for me sometimes.
So I'm assuming you play guitar for the band, or are you?
No, he's the guitarist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am the keyboardist,
Okay.
so I handle. all
I'm
that
the
stuff.
drummer.
Yeah.
Wait, do you guys not have a lead guitarist on the? Is just bass?
No, sorry. Let me clarify.
So,
I switched
yeah.
to bass or to guitar once I got to the band.
Oh, okay.
Our
I got
bassist is Riley Hand.
Okay, I got real confused. For that.
Yeah.
I heard guitar,
Yeah.
and either that or I've had a
No, you
long
didn't.
day.
No, you didn't.
So what made you decide on keys?
So like I said, I was in band as well. We both played the trombone, just a fun coincidence. And I like the trombone a lot more, at least like with jazz band and stuff. I just kind of figured out, if you've seen like GarageBand, how there's like a piano on there.
Yeah.
That you can play on your phone. And so I figured out, once I knew the notes, that I could find the songs that I knew how to play from band on my phone. And so I just kind of did that for fun. And I would like arrange pop songs and just play along with stuff I heard on the radio in the car. And I just did that for long enough that eventually I was pretty good at like knowing my way around the keyboard. And I actually had kind of taught myself from just like hearing stuff on the radio, some nice basic like harmony and
It was
music
amazing
theory.
watching him. I mean, he really was just like kind of teaching
And
himself.
yeah,
He'd be
I
doing
didn't
it all the
really
time.
realize I was doing it, but yeah, I just
You ever
kinda
seen
taught
Good Will
myself.
Hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just saw the problem on the board and I knew the answer. I was smarter than everyone, but I'm just a janitor.
Yeah, so I just kind of figured it out and I kept like upping it. When I got to high school, I started working with mallet percussion and stuff, and that kind of helped me get even more adept with the keyboard. And
So for people who
eventually-
don't know what that is, mallet percussion.
yeah, mallet percussion.
I'm people, by the way. It's me.
Xylophone, marimba, glockenspiel, all of those like instruments you play with mallets that like
A what was that last one?
Glockenspiel.
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 Yeah, like a little bell.
I only know what that is because of him.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I started doing that, and eventually I was just like, I want a real keyboard, and I just kept upping it, and now I teach it.
Oh shit! And so how long have you been teaching for?
I've been teaching now for 2 years, a little over 2 years, 2.5 years. I've only been teaching piano for around a year and a half. Before that, I did brass instruments like trombone.
And are you like in a school teaching? Do you like private lessons?
Yeah,
or-
I do private lessons.
Okay, that's
I work
sick.
at a music studio.
Good for you. That's sick.
I do piano, guitar. I'm very bad at guitar. He's the guitarist. Ukulele, a little bit of like beginning like drums. I've touched the bass. The bass. I do a little bit of everything there.
And so how did you land on singing?
I mean, I always wanted to learn how to play an instrument, but it was very frustrating. And my dad didn't have the greatest teaching method in this regard. I had like a little like kid, keyboard in my room, and I'd try to learn stuff, and I could like find the melody and everything, but I did not want my hands to be in the proper like position on the keyboard. I would be poking it. And so like nothing really ever worked out for me in that regard, and I just had always connected to singing anyways. Like it was really fun for me. And I don't know, I mean, that obviously carried on into like more musical theater. I got to high school and I was a national honors thespian. I guess before that, it was like middle school. I did a couple different like choirs, and then I did the talent show every year. My 6th grade year, I did Firework by Katy Perry. And oh my gosh, belting those notes and just like you're belting like the entire time. It was such a difficult song, but I was so proud of myself at the end. I came off stage and felt like I was gonna faint, and I was like, I need water. Like
You probably
right
felt
now.
like a plastic
People
bag,
were
didn't
like,
you?
I did, yeah. Do you ever feel like that? No, yeah. So that was like my first, I guess, performance, and it was a talent show, so it was like whatever. But yeah, musical theater was like my main thing in terms of singing for a while there, and then I wasn't in high school anymore and didn't really have any singing outlets, so I think that's kind of the main reason I wanted to start the band. I just like thought it would be really fun to have that collaboration for one thing. I'd always like kind of thought it would be a cool idea, but I didn't think anyone would take me seriously because I don't know how to write music, I can hear a melody. What?
She meant join the band, just to be clear. Just
Shut
to make
up.
sure
I started the band.
I definitely started the band.
I guess we'll just be arguing about that forever, even though I'm right. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of always something I eventually wanted to do. And because Garen is like the fantastic instrumentalist he is and musician, I was like, I think we actually could do this, and I kind of had more faith that he could take my melodies, because I can write melodies, but I don't like know the note names or anything, and I don't know how to like tell you much more than like singing it for you.
Right.
So I think that's kind of how all of our first songs started off. I came up with a melody and he would take that and write the chords, and like we'd kind of figure out the structure and everything together. And nowadays there are a few songs on here that I didn't start off melody wise, but I kind of just fill in my melody because I don't know, I can hear that in my head and it makes sense, but I can't tell you, like, I can't label anything. I can't, write it down. But
So you guys all come together. It sounds like in the middle of like that first summer of COVID. What was moving out of the pandemic, like through it and then out of it? What did that look like for you guys as a band?
it was awful. It felt like we had kind of gained some traction, and we, of course, a bunch of bands have this, like a bunch of our shows that we had scheduled right when the quarantine hit had been canceled, and people had said we were going to reschedule for after COVID, and then that didn't happen. And so it felt like we lost all of our momentum. We had tried to do some like playing in the park stuff like through quarantine, and it was fine. It was fun and it was a way to pass the time, but we didn't have any means of recording anything. So we were such a young band.
But we also, like, throughout the quarantine, we had, gained Spencer,
That's true,
which
yeah.
hugely changed a lot of stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
His influence on the band can't be overstated.
I still think of myself as like the new guy.
Which is ridiculous.
No, I have to be objective and be like, you're dumb, because like
Yeah.
I've been in the band for like 3 years. I basically
Yeah.
produced the album, and I'm like, no, I'm a backseat guy.
Yeah,
But-
we wrote, like, so much during quarantine.
Yeah, that's true. We did get a lot of writing done. I do kind of take that for granted sometimes because it hurt not being able to perform, of course. And so it felt like we weren't moving as fast as I really wanted us to, but we did get a lot of writing done.
I think it gave us the time to really find ourselves as a band.
Yeah, and figure out our sound. Before this album, and the only 2 songs we have on here that were prior to Spencer joining are Beautiful While Sinking and Puppeteering Hand. The rest of them have all been written with you. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it definitely, like, established our sound.
Well, I feel like that time too for a lot of like creatives in general, not just bands, but just creatives in general. Regardless of where they were in their career or like starting out or like their path or whatever you want to call it, that quarantine time was definitely how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like how bad are you gonna? Was this a hobby? Is this a side thing? Is this a passion project? Or is this something you actually want to like pursue, nurture, and grow? And because a lot of people were starting something or in the thick of something that died during COVID.
Yeah.
For lack of passion, and then people started things during COVID because they had absolutely nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And then once the world turned back on, it kind of just flopped right out.
Yeah, I think we were lucky in the fact that we had started before COVID, and we all did care enough about it to keep pushing through COVID.
You remember our first show back at
That was at B2B. Yeah,
It was like, it was outdoors, and it was like I was still masked and stuff. But
we actually got canceled for a little bit there because we had tried to schedule a show when things had opened back up, but and the owner was like, "Oh yeah, no, we're totally good. Like this, we're fine to open back up."
because like
We're
the city
"Okay."
ordinance changed, and it said
Yeah.
that you could have you could host an event if it was outdoors and people were masked and stuff.
Yeah.
But there was still just a lot of backlash, and so we were like, okay, cool. Like
Not really a lot. It was like 3
Oh yeah, you're right.
people.
It was very loud. It was like 3 people that were like.
Yeah, they were
Can't do
very
this.
mad
It
at
was
us
like-
and
we
cussed
were
us
already
out
kind
on
of-
our
As the event
Instagram.
was happening,
No, that
No.
the lead up to it, we were already like thinking we shouldn't do it, but
Yeah,
it was like
we were thinking about pulling it because we were like, this does seem sus, honestly. Like, it's probably not a good idea. But yeah, then they were like yelling at us about it.
yeah.
you got to take those people that do shit like that and get them out of your way.
kinda what
Seriously.
happened, honestly.
Yeah.
Good, because that is especially looking back.
It was just weird because they were like, oh, we've looked up to you. And I'm like, I don't even know you. And you're like maybe 3-4 years younger than me. It's not like you're like, we're not your idols, and we're not like
I
examples
mean, they were close
to
to the
you.
same age as me.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, how are we like, you
Well,
looked
and
up
then, like,
to us? That, I don't know, it
Us
was
being
so
in
weird.
charge of like whether or not we do something, like we don't know anything about COVID or
Yeah.
health, and it's like we were just
Yeah, we were just
following the
trying to follow
guidelines.
Yeah.
Well, and also looking. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
Looking back on things, but especially in that type of moment. Okay, so you said these people were 3 to 4 years younger than you, so I'd imagine like they're what
They were like fresh out of high school. Some of
right,
them still in
they're
high
like
school.
18, 19 years old, maybe
Yeah.
even 17 years old. Okay, so that, especially since they were still in school when COVID kicked off, at least in my opinion, these people got fucking psyoped and they got brainwashed into believing a whole lot of things that the government didn't even know about and their parents didn't know about it. Yeah. So they don't have like I remember myself as an 18-year-old, as a 14-year-old, not in a pandemic. And I did not have original thoughts.
No.
I was...
No, it was very clear that they had, like...
I was a walking hormonal idiot, right? And then now you have these kids who had to live through a pandemic, like...
Well, and I guess they were like, oh, we're making a difference by calling out
exactly.
bands and holding them accountable. And it's like,
that's...
okay, if we were a big band, maybe, but we're like...
And again, remember, that's all they see. All they see is, oh, someone does something wrong that you view as like more elevated than you, or like higher than you in status. The job is to rope them and drag them down.
That was so confusing
and let
to me,
them know
though.
what they did wrong.
Because I was like, I don't view myself as any kind of example or like anything to look up to at all. And, I struggle with my own insecurities. So that happened. I was just confused and very, very angry. I think I was in the car with my friend and we were like driving and I was like, I was pissed.
See, and I
was like, what are they saying? What are they saying?
See,
she's like holding my phone. She's reading me the messages. I'm like, oh my God.
I love getting messages like that. I have been getting them since like episode 3. I get them probably not very much recently. Well, no, I got one recently, which was very fun. But I've gotten a few where it's like, you're a this, you're a that, you're a insert adjective phobe, you're a bigot, you're a that. I'm like, okay, well, that's person I don't know. That's fine that you believe that.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously haven't spent any time with me, but we're going to just roll with that. Because that kind of stuff, whether it's from stupid teenagers or it's from grown adults, that stuff never comes from above you.
No.
You know what I mean? And the longer that you guys keep doing music, you keep putting yourself out there, keep putting your names out there, you're gonna catch shit whether you like it or not. Like, for instance, I
don't like it. I really don't.
For instance, here's a great example. Here's a perfect example. Like 2 months ago, okay? 2 months ago? Yeah, 2 months ago, I started doing stand-up comedy.
Oh, nice.
All right? Started doing stand-up. And my last show that I did was this past Friday. And I took a clip from it, and I put it on my Instagram. Things went fine. Whatever, those were my friends. Okay, great. The TikTok algorithm obviously shoot things out a little further than Instagram does.
Which is great, by the way. I definitely prefer TikTok over Instagram.
So I throw it on... I throw it on TikTok, and I get this is the only, well, aside from my reply, this is the only comment on my one stand-up clip, which is like 65 seconds long. This is truly the worst stand-up I've seen, honestly, and not because it's political, but because this joke got overused 1 hour after the event happened. And I read that and I was like, fuck yeah. I'm on the right path.
That's fair. It's a reaction.
Love that shit. Yeah, because whether it's a positive or a negative, a reaction means, to me anyway, it means that someone digested what you did, whether blindly or otherwise. And they took the time out of their obviously so important day.
Yeah.
And so jammed-packed day, right? They took the time to let you know how they felt. You affected them one way or another.
Yeah, that's true. I have trouble thinking of it that way, though.
I hope I live in that motherfucker's head rent-free for years to come. I hope so. So yeah, and that's weird. I don't know. I've just found that, like, especially in a town like fucking Albuquerque, like the more you put yourself out there, like I think there's a lot more positive than negative, especially in the music community. I think there is a lot more positive than negative, but every so often you'll get the little stings here and there.
Yeah.
And I've watched them happen in real time. And I've watched some of my friends like get a little stressed out over it. It's like, it's nothing to fucking stress out over. Again, because that shit never comes from above you.
That's true.
It's always from people that are trying to punch up.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, that's your opinion, and you fucking move. Especially when you're putting out music like that. Get the fuck out of here. Who gives a shit?
To be fair, this happened before we had the album, before we were like more established.
But they should have known.
They should have known we were going to do this. Yeah.
Either way, fuck them. So what?
I do hope they listen to it.
They will. That's the issue. Is they're going to.
They probably will, but they're not going to comment, and they're not going to like it, and they're not going to share it. So what use of it?
You're just a useless stream.
Yeah.
You fuck. No. So what was the what was the paradigm shift like when you joined the band?
Better was the first song we wrote.
Yeah, I guess I can't speak to the shift. Or like, to me, I felt like when I came in, I felt like I had a lot of influences that were not super present in this kind of group. We used to get mistaken for punk a lot in the early days, and that was kind of attributed to their previous guitarist and bassist kind of took that direction a lot.
It was like a little more heavier of music.
Like just like take
like
everything fast,
faster.
Everything
just
was fast.
Amber's a really good belter.
Little
She's got a
simpler,
good.
like-
She's got a good
I used to belt a
loud
lot
voice, and
more in
so-
our songs.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's not really the direction they were going for, but it was
it was fun. It was fine.
It's
but,
still kind of a
yeah.
direction that I like taking things, but I wasn't going to come in and be like, here we go, like kind of hostile take over it. So I feel like I like subtly was kind of like leaning towards kind of heavier things. Like the song Better, it starts out as this like kind of almost like disco beat, like, and there's like this like introspective bridge. The chorus is just this like
It's very pop.
orchestral almost like pop chorus, and then the outro is just straight rock. It's just like slamming guitar chords, and then I didn't suggest I do a solo. Someone else was like, "You want a solo there?" And I was like,
I
"Oh,
think
like, yeah,
Garen
sure."
did.
And then
Cesar.
Oh, it was Cesar?
I was
Okay.
like, I'm gonna really try and put like as heavy of a solo as I can on the end of this.
I
thing.
think, and that's, even though we've kind of wanted to go in a different direction and haven't really wanted to be as punk anymore, I think we've achieved that. I don't think we're really punk, but I still think those heavier parts to our sound, like, it only, like, adds to our, I guess, just, like,
Well, they're nice
versatility.
in music like that. It's, at least I find that it's nice surprises.
Yeah.
Right? Because if bands like, not even Pink Floyd, but it applies to them for sure. But like, if groups like Tame Impala, right? If they were just mellow and smooth and wavy the whole time, that gets boring really fucking
Oh, for
quick.
sure, yeah.
That gets boring very quick. So I think that's. Do you guys find that as a challenge with the genre of music you kind of land on to keep things like changed up and keep it kind of like not keep the listener on their toes, but you kind of have to. You can't just stick in the one lane.
We
the whole
change
time.
things too much. We actually have to rein ourselves back. I think because we have so many different influences, like per member, we're all bringing something different. A lot of the time, like, if I've written the melody, I don't write the entire song. I write maybe like a verse and the chorus, sometimes just a verse, and then we collaborate from there. So a lot of the time we have really different sounding sections to songs. So we'll have a verse that's, maybe that's a little more slow, it's a little more like fluid, and then that chorus comes in and it's like upbeat and it's fast and it's like hard hitting.
Well, it's a lot better than the alternative.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
everyone kind of having like that hive mind kind of.
I think
like,
it's harder to get yourself to do something different if you're used to doing the same thing than it is to pull yourself
Well,
back.
it's also the group think, right? Because so there's four people in the band, but how many people worked on the album?
5.
5.
Yeah.
So if you have
Four of
four,
us and the drummer.
so if you have 4 people all thinking the same thing, and then one person has maybe a better idea than the group, I mean, obviously they're less likely to bring that up.
Yeah.
But if all 5 of you coming at it from a different angle, that just becomes a conversation, probably a debate or argument, I'm sure, at some points.
yeah.
Well,
but at the end of the day, it's,
yeah,
it's
100%.
it becomes a conversation at the end of it.
And I think that's my favorite thing about this band is how collaborative it is and how I love listening to the songs and being able to pick apart like, oh, I can totally hear like Spencer's influence here or Garen's influence or like just like really being able to pinpoint that. And sometimes you can't completely, because it's collaborative and
meld
it's something we
too
all,
much.
we all did together, but
Which
it's
isn't
really
necessarily a bad
fascinating.
thing.
No, yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, I think that's great.
So at the end of the day, I'd imagine anyway, as much as individual musicians that you are, you want to come out of this as a band.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You always want to have like a balance to things where you kind of got to figure out what the priority is in any given section or any given song. Like, this is the part that's about this thing, about this instrument, or like, do these voices, are they going to sing the same thing, or are they going to split apart and work off each other? So it's always, and it's different for every song. Like we actively try not to fall into the same structure of things. We try not to be like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. We try to like vary that up, and then we noticed for a while we were writing a lot of songs that sounded kind of like, or in like a minor key, kind of sounded a little darker.
And that's completely my fault.
And-
I think I
would
really,
say completely, but like
it's
it does
completely,
start with
I
you.
mean, yeah, if I'm starting the melody, I oftentimes write melodies in minor keys.
Yeah, but then we pointed that out to you, and you were like, "Oh, okay." And so, like, then we started we started brightening things up a little bit, and so
Yeah,
now this
since
album I think
then-
has a nice blend of the both. You know?
Yes, I think we did achieve a good blend. Sometimes they'll like kind of change melodies I've written in minor. Transpose, is that what you'd say about?
We'll
No,
just
it's
like
not really
tweak a note or
transposing.
two every now and then, because sometimes all you need, you know, like one note in a melody can change the entire feel of it. And
Yeah.
so we'll just like look at it and be like, okay, this one little note, like move him up one note or down one note. and then
Lunar
you have a totally different
Soliloquy,
thing.
specifically that
really
final
nice.
song of the album.
Yeah.
It was definitely written originally. I wrote it super like minor blues kind of melody, and then I knew that it was very bluesy. And I was like, okay, you're gonna hate me. I wrote this very obviously bluesy. I don't want it to be bluesy at all. So
Yeah.
like anything you write, it can't sound too bluesy. And so that did kind of piss them off a little bit. But
It's a fun. I like when you present us with challenges like that.
yeah. Well, and you know, Spencer
puzzle
helped
to
me like
figure
tweak
out.
some of the notes, and so now it's like it's Mixolydian, I
Yeah.
guess. If anyone
It's what now?
Mixolydian. So
That has like 5 syllables. I can count to 3.
I only vaguely understand what that is through these two, but it's hard for me to understand too. But it's just a mode. So there's like major songs, minor songs. Those
Yeah.
are like the two everyone like pretty much knows.
Yeah,
more
major
or
is happy,
less.
minor is sad,
Yeah.
Mixolydian's like kind of in between. Leans
It's
on the
kind of
happier side.
psychedelic feeling,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It's like positive psychedelic.
Okay. And so, what was the idea going into the album? Was there an idea? Was there a vision? Or
So we had a completely
how
different.
how do you tackle doing an album? Or do you even going into it thinking, hey, we're gonna make an album now?
I mean, I wanted it ideally to be cohesive, you know, have the songs kind of like sound good together. And that's been kind of a point of contention because some of us care more about that than others. Like, I just like it when albums like feel like they could be on a playlist together. Because I'm definitely a playlist listener, honestly. And most of the time I'm not listening to full albums. I like collecting a bunch of songs and putting them on the same thing for like an overall kind of mood or vibe. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted, at least for the album. What do you guys think for putting together the album?
I mean, we had an entirely different layout for the album.
We wrote a lot of songs like right before deciding to do this album.
Yeah,
so
how long ago did Better come out?
Better was because it was the first song Spencer wrote, so I think that was like fall of 2020.
No, but how long ago did we release the first
Oh,
single?
a year and a half ago because it
Yeah.
was February of 2022.
Yeah, so back then we had an entirely different version of the album with a ton of different songs. It was much more eclectic.
If anyone has like listened to us for a while, like at shows and stuff, they might remember like the bunny song. It's actually called the CLB, but it was about my bunny. And yeah, that was on there. It was a very punk song, you know, again, moving away from that, but
Baller song is what it was.
it's fun. Yeah, I'd put it on an EP, and we're still thinking about that, like maybe having some of those like first songs that we never got to release.
But see, what made it weird is that because you guys always wrote, and this applied once I came too. We always wrote for the live shows. You know, you like you write a song to play at a show, and then you go play at the show and see how the audience reacts. You tweak certain things and mess things around like that, which is completely different from studio writing. Like when you're, because a lot of bands when they're gonna like, especially big bands when they're gonna write an album, that's like they lock themselves in a room for 6 months and they like write for the album. So that means you're recording while you're doing it. You can play things back and you can like add little bits and pieces here and there. But like when you're when you're writing for live music, it's much more of the like in the moment, like because you can't backtrack and change anything, So you gotta you think about it differently, and then also because it's not all part of one project, each song can go in wildly different directions. So the first time we tried to do an album, like you said, it was eclectic. It was just, we tried to, best to make it kind of cohesive, but a lot of it was just all over the place. And then that got put on hold for like a year or so. And then last summer we kind of decided again we were going to commit to doing the album thing, and we were going to try and record it ourselves. So we bought some equipment. I have a little bit of experience mixing and I'm experienced mixing things, no experience recording things. That was all new. But then we still had, 9 months or like 6 months or so till we were going to get serious about it. So we had a few songs lying around that weren't finished. And then knowing we were going towards an album, we could really kind of solidify those. And those are like the first and last song of the album.
Yeah, the
like, are part of
newest
those, and they
songs
kind
are Lunar
everything
Soliloquy
together.
and The Change. Those are the two
and
newest.
Dipped in Blue, as far as writing goes.
The change is fucking
Yeah.
depressing, man.
Oh, yeah.
Sad shit.
But it sounds fun, right?
It sounds great. Because I had that. Because I listened to it when I was at work today, and then I listened to it again when I was driving back from work, because my commute is a pain in the ass. And I was like, man, I was really listening to the lyrics. Like, man, this is who hurt these people? Fuck.
That's a good question.
Me.
Or
I mean, I hurt myself. I
out
guess.
of curiosity, like, what did you think it was about?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
To be quite honest, I
Okay.
really couldn't tell you. Because especially when I go into something listening to a full album, and I learned this when I got into Queens of the Stone Age pretty big.
I love
in
Queens
high
of the
school.
Stone Age, yeah.
I got really into them in high school, and that's when my brain kind of shifted. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna really listen to individual songs. I'm listening to a whole album, and then maybe later,
that.
later, I'll dive into individual songs, and then especially when because I used to have a job back. It was before the pandemic, so 2018, 2019. I had a job doing recruiting for a college down in Roswell, and a lot of my job was leaving the state to go to like college fairs and go to like I'd go to like small high schools in West Texas or like Colorado. I'd hop up to Albuquerque whenever I could. I still had a house up here, and then I went to California like twice and went to Arizona and shit like that. So I had to get really like deep on my Spotify algorithm and find like full albums that were good.
Yeah.
Cause I used to have a magnet, like a little mounted magnet that you could throw your phone on, and you can only get so confident putting Game of Thrones on and doing the whole like that movement while you're driving for 10 hours.
yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get into like full albums.
Yeah.
So I haven't sat down with yours and like picked it apart song by song yet.
Yeah. Well, and you just got it sent to you too. Like, yeah.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Small perks of running a podcast, people. You get early release. So get fucked, everyone else.
Very exclusive.
But no, it's a phenomenal fucking album.
The Change I kind of wrote to be like just like the breakup song. There are like other songs about like past relationships for me, but that was kind of just the one that it's kind of just in general about past relationships, and not even all romantic, just like people you used to care so much about and like, you know, not know how you would live without them. Like you're so like intertwined, and then just that stark difference between that and not knowing them at all anymore. And it's like a few years down the line, and you're thinking back and you're like, wow, I don't even think about this person anymore. And it's very sad, you know? I mean, it's kind of just, it's what happens. We all grow apart. But yeah, I kind of had that idea in my mind. I can't remember where this comes from, but it's kind of this story kind of passed around in somewhere, but it's like that concept of having a soulmate and having like an invisible string like attached from you to them, and having that like, you know, it like crosses and then it gets severed, or like having any kind of connection you've ever had with someone. It's like your strings like are like running parallel for a while and then they diverge eventually, and just kind of visualizing that.
It's all part of the timeline. It's a canon event.
Yeah, it's the canon event.
That is an interesting concept. I mean, I used to buy into that when I was in high school. Like the idea of that now that I'm an actual like I'm kind of becoming an adult. I'm like, okay, that's a load of fucking bullshit.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think there's soulmates really, but it's just kind of just commenting on the change.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. No, I think it's interesting how people will take their past relationships or take just not even just like romantic ones, but just relationships in general. And I love like, you know, listening or reading interviews of musicians who put that or put elements of it into their music and like the highlights of it. Because you're right, it's like you go from knowing someone so into, depending on like the fucking timeline, obviously. Like I know people that like get hung up on like a little 1 month fling, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
and then it's like, oh shit, like she had you in there good, didn't she? That fucking sucks. But then it's like, yeah, you know someone for years and years, and it's like absolutely nothing. And then the artistic types that take that and put it into their art, how they do that, what parts of it were important to you, what part of your brain, like I love, like I have a couple musician friends that where they've written a song like right in the beginning, like the thick of the breakup.
Yeah.
And finding like what the brain like hyper fixates on.
Well, and just the process too. Yeah, because I've written about my ex who was but before Spencer. I've written a couple of songs, or like a few of them. Some of them completely about him, and sometimes he just like comes up and like pops up, I guess. But yeah, they're written at different points in time, so it's really interesting to like see how I'm thinking about it change and just like
Yeah, how many years went into this album?
Okay, so I actually I figured this all out. I have a timeline of the songs, or I wish it was like an actual timeline. I should do that actually, but it's just a list where I like write. On the list, I think I just did the first time we performed each song.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can see Beautiful While Sinking was the first one. That's 2019.
Oh, so this has gone over almost
it's
three
been,
and a half. Yeah, 3.5 fucking years. Holy shit.
So Beautiful While Sinking, and then it's Puppeteering Hand. The next one after that would be, is that Better? Here, I have to look at my own list.
Well, I was gonna say, like, can you tell? So I'd imagine you could if it's between like a song, even like 6 months to a year between a song and another one that you end up writing and completely putting together, and you're able to actually perform it. When you are growing as musicians, you have these newer songs coming out, and you're wanting to put them all in an album together. Do you go back to the older ones and change them and like move things around, completely get rid of parts? Like, wait, that's clearly a decision because of inexperience.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of that, or let's change that. Let's make this better. Like, did that happen in the process?
Oh, totally. That happened all the time. I mean, that's part of the reason that there are so many old songs that we do, or that we did, that aren't on the album in general. But it's like, man, I wrote the stuff for Beautiful While Sinking while I was in high school.
Yeah.
And some of it's pretty good, surprisingly. Some of it's pretty good.
I think
that's
Beautiful
one of the
holds
few
up,
that,
and that's
like,
why that's our first song. Or, not our first song, but it's the oldest song on the album, because I think Beautiful is kind of the one that's held up more than a lot of the other ones that were written around the same time.
That's like the one that I was like really confident on that was that old. And then a lot of the other ones, it's like they just don't
flake
stack
or say
up
goodbye
to anything that I've done lately.
And how do you differentiate that between the songs that are all in like one, let's say like one era, right? One time frame. How do you differentiate? What was like the litmus test? Like, okay, this is a pile of shit. Okay, that's really good though.
I think it's
Let's
just
keep
feel.
that.
It's just kind of feel, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely, some of our first songs, I'm definitely less proud of the lyrics. There was actually, our very first song is Meant to Be This Way. And we still have, like, I have friends who beg me to play that song all the time. I'm like, could you fucking stop? Because it's not a good song. And they won't listen to me. They're like, no, it's so good. It's so catchy. I'm like, I hate you. But yeah, no, Meant to Be This Way, garbage song. Even worse lyrics. Like, the original lyrics are so cringy. I fucking hate them.
They're bad, but the music is worse.
No, the lyrics are worse.
The music is so bad.
I mean,
it's the one
it's all
song that I would actually not credit myself on. So like that one, yeah. That one, I totally don't think I should even get a writing credit. It's that bad, and I didn't.
We had to play
I
it for
didn't
something,
contribute.
though.
If it was a child, you'd abandon it.
Yeah.
Just leave it at the firehouse.
It came back up somehow. Like, I think someone managed to convince me that we should play it again for them and be like, okay, this is the last time we're gonna play the song ever, so be at the show and you can say goodbye to it. But I like rewrote my lyrics for it, though. I was like, I cannot possibly sing these lyrics. And I think I wrote a much better song.
Well, didn't you write, weren't the new lyrics roasting the old lyrics?
Pretty much,
like,
yeah. It was very meta. It was
when you
like,
added yourself for
Yeah.
writing cringy lyrics.
I've like, we've made things worthy of your time.
Yeah.
Well, and then also like with any of these songs, just as we perform them, they change so much. Like, I was comparing it. I love comparing music to food all the time. And I was just thinking of it as like, when we write a song, just all of us together, we can finish a song and make it, and it's good. And it's like, it's a little bit like mixing up the ingredients and putting them in the pan and whatever. But actually performing the song, I'd kind of call that the actual baking process. Like, that's when the song is in the oven, because the changes that you're making when you're on stage, like, I don't know how you guys feel at least, but I am constantly editing myself, like, as I'm performing.
I think it happens subtly for
It's
me.
like little improvisations you do, like, I'll write a guitar part and it's like, okay, like, here are the chords and I play this riff here and I play this riff here. But then, like, you play the song 20 times and you start to kind of get a little bored with doing the same thing, so you start to you know, you hear something like, oh, in this spot I could probably do a little riff like that, or I could, you know,
And
just
so
do
how
a
much-
little diddle like this. And
How much of that is happening in practice? How much is happening like on stage?
Honestly, I think a lot of mine is more in practice. If I'm on stage, chances are I'm not gonna try something crazy.
well, you got the
new.
responsibility. You're the front man, so you gotta like.
Yeah,
you
I
gotta
think I'm usually
focus on the
following my
audience.
own script.
I don't know about you, but I'm like usually in my own world when we're performing. You know, like I'm like.
Oh, we can tell.
I'm just in the music, and it's easy for me to kind of let go and just let little things happen.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's your final exam. Like that's test day.
Yeah.
Like you can't study anymore. Like it's like going back to high school in general. Where it's like, why are you cramming an hour before? You're not
Yeah.
gonna learn anything new. Just do what you know and
Yeah.
forget the rest.
No, it's a big thing with like stage fright and like performance anxiety is you have to just like kind of accept that like you're here and this is happening and whatever you do is what's going to be left on the stage, you know?
Yeah. Do you
and
guys
so-
have like stage fright or ever get like stage fright, stage anxiety while you're on stage?
Yes, if I start messing up a lot, and the Barbie show, and everyone tells me it was fine and they didn't even notice anything, but I fucked up lyrics so bad on the songs that we were covering for that show. And so, like, it wasn't bothering me that much at first. Like, a few mistakes I can, like, I can overlook, and I can be like, okay, whatever, just get on with the performance, because I'd rather just recover. But no, at a certain point, if there's been too many things that I'm just getting in my head about, it will start to take over, and I'll get more nervous.
I haven't had stage fright in years.
Nice.
Well, you're a machine. So.
That was the most fucking deadpan. Like, wait, you could have delivered that.
Well, you're a machine, so.
I'm just trying to put a reason to the statement. I had at the same show, I have a big pedal board because I'm an asshole.
Okay.
I like clicked on one of my pedals to do an effect, and the whole thing just died. So the guitar just completely cut out. And it was like right when I have like this, like everyone cuts out and I do the solo.
Oh,
so,
shit.
And the stage is small enough that like it stops, and I was just like, sorry, and like got down on my knees and started trying to fix it. And I was like, you guys should just keep the song going. And they just
That's one of the best things to go into a smaller show like that, though.
yeah, when like wild shit happens, you can't predict that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's great.
But I got done, and like in the moment, I was like just hard focused. Like I'm gonna try this, try that. Like finally got it working. I was like, okay, cool. And like I stood up and like played the rest of the song. And like when the song finished, I realized like my legs were shaking, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
and I
damn.
like I was like just complete jelly legs. We still had like 4 songs to do, so I was like, get through it. Made through the whole thing and got off stage, and it was like actually like the most like worried I'd been that I was gonna like collapse coming off the stage before. So, you know, you kind of develop ways to deal with it in the moment, but like the emotion's always there, and like it always kind of it'll come back at you.
I think I just have a lot of anxiety nowadays, more just about what I'm doing on stage. Making sure I'm still singing pretty, but then also at the same time being entertaining and moving the right way, and like, I don't know. I have body dysmorphia, so I get so in my head about just the way I look and the way I'm being perceived. It kind of sucks being a performer with body dysmorphia when people are taking pictures of you, and like, singing is not a very flattering thing. Like, I'll be in like the worst facial positions, like, it's so
Neither is
gross
guitar playing.
sometimes. That's fair. Yeah, I think kind of performing music can be a very ugly thing sometimes.
Oh, it definitely can.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think performing in general has that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then I was laughing at these two. My friend just took like pictures of us at a couple of our last performances, and they're like solo like musician faces. They're so funny.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah,
just
thinking about it.
Yeah, he moves his mouth around like while he's soloing. Like he looked like he was like rubbing in chapstick like at one point. Like it's so funny.
Because like I've only been on stage a handful of times.
Yeah.
Handful of times. And it's weird. I have the worst anxiety beforehand. Leading up to it, you don't want to be around me.
Yeah.
That's how
Like,
it used to be.
I'm not fun to be around. I'm trying to like focus on what I'm about to say, trying to focus on like punchlines and timing and all that type of shit. I'm not fun to be around. I will not talk to you unless it's like
Yeah.
life, limb, or eyesight. You know what I mean? But then once I get on there, it's like that just like falls away.
Nice.
It's strange because it's like a double-edged sword. Because what I'm learning now is like obviously I at some point. Not anytime soon, 'cause I'm not too concerned with it. But at some point, I got to get my shit together, learn how to do crowd work, learn how to talk to people, like
Yeah.
on stage and shit like that. Because when I go up there now, it's like there's a wall between me and the
Yeah.
audience.
No, it's like that's your kind of defense mechanism.
That happens,
Yeah.
yeah, that happens sometimes, and I think if the audience isn't as receptive as you'd like really want them to be, like it can be really hard to connect with them.
Yeah, and it was not even like not connecting, I guess. It's like I don't even know they're there. And so that's
okay.
great because if I'm bombing, which I
Yeah.
definitely have, when I'm bombing, I'm like, okay, I can just exist in this silence for a little bit. I
Yeah.
really don't give a shit. But then I have to really like tune myself in when I do get laughs and I do get like I'm in the zone for a couple of seconds. I need to like force myself to recognize that and stop, let that exist, and then move on. You know what I mean? Except for the one time I did an open mic drunk on accident. That was not a good idea. I went to
Yeah,
an
I don't do anything intoxicated. I won't even take like one shot before performing.
Yeah, that is the lesson I have learned because both like shows that I've done, I refuse to drink beforehand.
Yeah.
And then the one open mic that I did and I got drunk was because I signed up and I was like, oh, let's have a beer. It's an open mic. I'm going to work through my stuff. It's going to suck anyway. Everyone else is bombing, whatever. Well, the wait time was a lot more than I had expected. And a beer an hour later turned into 4 whiskeys and 3 beers.
Yeah.
And I wasn't plastered, but I like walked up there and I like started with a tag. I missed 2 more. I started another joke on the punchline. I was like, fuck, what am I doing? And then everyone else kept bombing too. It was like, all right, I'm in good company.
At least it wasn't
So-
just you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think honestly, a lot of the time, it feels like I'd go into some other mindset. I feel like I have definitely like a stage persona.
You kind of need that for music though.
Yeah, it's become, I don't know, almost like not really an alter ego, but like I definitely have like a certain way of talking on stage, and I don't think I really do that off stage. But I developed that through the band because I didn't have that before. I mean, you know, when I was mainly doing musical theater, you're acting in a role. You're already like supposed to be a different role.
Well, that probably already like influenced you too.
That's
like, 'cause
true,
If you're accustomed to being somebody else when you're on stage performing,
yeah.
then doing it in the band, you kind of.
That was something I struggled with at first, though. I remember talking to people about like, you know, it's hard to be on stage as just me. So I think I have kind of developed like, this is Amara on stage,
Yeah.
as opposed to just regular how I usually.
Is that
act,
something you
but-
kind of like? Is that something you consciously think about and work on, or is that just something like you're feeling it in the moment?
I never
amplify
plan
it?
anything I'm going to say on stage. I just go in and I'm like, I'll feel it out as it goes. Because a lot of it is improvised anyways. You don't know exactly what's going to happen in a performance. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what's going to happen. So, like, you can't really plan for it that much. So I think it's beneficial anyways to not have a plan. Because I think if I tried to, you know, think about what I was going to say, like, it wouldn't work out.
Well, I feel like there's a line, and I've found that myself. There's a line between organization and then just you're no longer putting in your own personality.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
you can organize what you're doing or what you're gonna say or whatever it is gonna happen on stage. You can organize it, but then if you get too robotic with it, it becomes processed.
And that's what I've had trouble with, I think, in terms of movement on stage. Like, sometimes if I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to go interact with Garen on stage because I've been told by people that I should interact with my bandmates more on stage, and now I'm going to go do that. Sometimes that feels a little robotic, but yeah, it's just kind of learning how to make it feel more natural. And the only way to do that is to keep doing it, you know, because then it becomes more natural.
I think it's you start off kind of planning things out like that, you know, because you'll get tips like you need to move more, you need to like, or like.
Yeah, I
it
think I
would be
do
cool if you
carry
did
stuff
this.
like that in the back of my head, to be
And
fair.
so you try it out, you know, you go,
Yeah.
you finally one time remember, oh hey, I said I was gonna go do this at this song, and then once you do it and it becomes a little less scary because you've already done it once, and you get a little more accustomed to it, then it just starts to become part of the repertoire of just like, you know, this song is vibing right now, and I'm gonna go over and vibe with this person.
And I think
I'm
you
gonna
guys
do
have
this
watched me do that, especially Garen, obviously, because he's been in from the beginning. I think I used to just pretty much just stand in front of the mic. And to be fair, I feel like I lost a lot of my stage fright at the end of high school. Like, I had been lead role in a musical at that point, so it was like, oh, this isn't like so bad. But it came back like a couple years later when we had started the band, and I remember my knees would shake and like my arms would shake a little bit. I could feel like the tightness in my chest. So yeah, it was definitely easier to just lock myself in front of the mic and be like the mic was like my safety, like I
Your
had
safety blanket.
Yeah, I
You're
had
like
to be
Linus
holding,
dragging around that shit all day long.
I had to be
Something.
holding and I wouldn't take the mic off the stand either. For some reason the stand was important for me too, and I'd hold the stand
It's like an anchor.
yeah. Honestly, that's
like you're
probably
like-
kind of how I was using it.
Like you're holding
but-
onto the side of the pool. The Lord forbid you take the mic off and go to the deep end. You're about to drown.
Well, and
your
actually have to
lifeline.
walk on stage and move
Yeah.
around. And now I prefer that because it, it lets you move more and it lets you interact with the audience more. And that's honestly a lot nicer. But yeah, before it was definitely easier to just stand still.
See, I do think like I do all right without it, but like having my giant rig in front of me at all times
Yeah.
kind of helps be like, there's always this with me.
Yeah, you've got a big cockpit where you can operate the
Yeah.
show from.
Do you find that's where a lot of your stage fright goes away?
I mean,
Because
maybe
because you're literally anchored in one spot. All you have to
Yeah.
worry about is do my job, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah,
okay.
dude, if you had to worry about dancing, I bet you would have more stage
I
fright.
move.
You move.
I move as much as I can.
Right, but that's the point. You can't move much more
Yeah.
than
You
that,
do the
so
fucking stanky leg and you call it a day.
I
We
hate-
need to
I hate having
all
dance.
try switching, and then
Yeah.
we can see.
I'll play
You
guitar.
just need longer arms.
I don't know. I didn't have any stage fright. Pretty recently, I did a gig for work, and I had to like sing and everything and be the front person. And so I was fine with that.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I don't think I moved as much as you did, but
Yeah.
And so, how long have you been performing in general for?
Well, I guess
Did you do any before the band?
yeah, not with not on guitar. I used to be like I said, I played trombone through. So I guess I should have clarified this. I hated band in high school and middle school, but I got scholarships for it to college, so I was gonna keep doing it. So
Yeah.
I took trombone to college with me, and to do a music education degree, you basically have to get a regular music degree. So you do all the same level of performing and training that professional musicians do that go through the college circuit. And so I'd played around town on trombone in like Latin bands, jazz bands, soul bands. And around the time the pandemic hit, I was gearing up to do my like senior recital, and then that canceled that. So I kind of like trombone just kind of ended for me. And then I got to pick up the guitar, but that was a totally different feeling, but it was way more liberating for me because trombone I was so technical about. Like it was the one, like, because I was being trained on it by like professors and people who were like actually like world class musicians and stuff. And so it was very much I was always conscious of what I was doing, how I was doing it. I was super critical of myself on trombone. Guitar is like my third instrument. It's like not even the bass that I grew up on. It's like this. It's so far removed that I'm okay with not like I'm not like a shredder. I'm not going for like the Steve Vai like crazy thing. Like I'm okay with it being like a little grungy and a little like if I miss a string or
A little rough around the edges.
Totally. I'm like
Yeah.
I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm not okay with that with my trombone playing, but when I'm on guitar, like I'm totally fine if it's. And that doesn't mean I'm like I have no standards. Like I still want to sound the way I want it to sound.
You have a loose structure.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine being out of that that intense microscope of just being criticized and being
Yeah.
analyzed and just having your every move taken into account.
Yeah.
Removing that and then being in a group like this, that's a playground.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It was like that's part of why I was like down to audition. If I had the same level of like critique of myself on guitar
Scrutiny.
as trombone, I wouldn't have joined the band. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even auditioned. Like I'm like there's no way I can.
Well, because when does that stop being? Well, I mean, obviously it's a clear example, but it can stop being fun and stop being something you're passionate about, and now it's just another job.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like written up, and I'm getting like disciplined and like shit like that. Like you don't want to be in that for something that you're trying to put your actual emotion into.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of music majors don't stay music majors.
It's
forever.
tough, it's hard. It's,
hard,
like
yeah.
it's not an easy degree to get through because people are like serious about it, and they push you. And I learned and it's not to say I didn't learn it. Like I learned so much from that, and I've like taken so much of that to the band. But I think it is really just that because again, trombone was never like my instrument. Like I think if I was just set up to love the trombone the way that some people do when I first started playing it, I could have gone like really crazy with that. I could have done other things with that. But it was like, because I remember, in school they talk about like there's no excuse for not being prepared for something. You know, like if you're like, I don't have the time for it. Like you've got 15 minutes before class. I was a professor talking about like I was flying all day to this thing and I still like snuck to a corner of the airport, pulled out my trombone and like practiced in a corner by myself just so I could get some time in that day. And I was like, that's just not me. Like I like not on trombone. Like I don't have the passion for it like that. And like I feel like if I did, that makes total sense that I could go far with it, but it just didn't.
You will find me in every corner in every airport.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear though, like he says like, oh, it's so much like less serious. He has so much of a better like work ethic than we've ever seen from any of our guitarists.
Yeah, I don't want to give up the impression that I don't care or that I'm
he's
lazy, but...
like so crazy good with all of that stuff. And I mean, he learned and taught himself just how to produce our entire album in the span of just such a small amount of time.
A summer.
months.
Yeah.
So what was that like, putting on the producer's hat and having to pretty much take all of the reins on that?
It was
front?
pretty ridiculous. I like I said, I have a little bit of background in it. I did a year where I kind of learned how to use some of the programs that you edit music with, a couple of different DAWs, and we got all the drums recorded up front. A friend of ours mic'd all the drums up. We spent a weekend just like running every song, getting good takes.
Greg.
Oh yeah, it's a band called Crush. The drummer, his name is Greg. He's super dope, and he did a great job. And you know, I teach elementary school, so the school year was still going on. It was April, but I started like after school every day, just like kind of initially it was trial and error. It's like I've never used this program specifically. I've never mixed drums. Like mixing is such a weird, nuanced art because you have to listen for things that like no one ever hears. Like you don't hear it on the surface, but your brain knows it's there. So like a mixing engineer is like, he's like, I gotta find it before your brain does, and I gotta fix it before that problem kind of arises. And so I had to learn all these like, it was all just like I would sit at my computer and I would like put on a song that I liked, and I would just like manipulate different parts of the sound to try and train my ear to hear them. So that I could be like, okay, that's what a good mix sound like, and that's what I kind of want to emulate in mine.
An example being?
Let's see. There's a song by Glass Animals called Youth. It was a really big influence for the song Plant Song, and it's just like, you hear music audio files talk about like the frequencies like bass, middle, and treble, and like brightness and presence and compression, all these like different terms. But it's like some of them were so hard for me to process, like on the nose, just like you hear the definition of it, doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you really listen to it, like you like isolate the bass frequency and you can feel it in your chest. And then you isolate the mid frequencies and it sounds like the telephone sound, like because all the highs and lows are gone. And then you isolate the highs and it's just like white noise. It's just like, but without that, like you hear the high end by itself, it's like that's just shrieking, sparkly nothing. But then without it, everything sounds like you put a blanket over the speaker. Mm-hmm. And so like those little analogies, like being able to give my brain something to kind of latch on to, because it's one thing to identify it on a really well produced song. It's another thing to take raw recorded material,
and start dissecting and
here's what this needs, and this has too much of that. Or this, they always say trust your ears, but then it's like, but I got to make sure my ears know what they're doing before I can
get
trust
trained
them,
first.
Yeah. So that was the first like week or so, and then as soon as school ended, it was like a full-time job, like from June all the way until I finished. I finished mixing the whole thing, and we had a friend named Travis Hill master it. We got the whole thing finished like the day before school started this semester, and then got it sent out to distribution. It's finally gonna come out, but yeah, it was like I went from one job to the next, and then I'm back into the other job again. No pause at all.
Yeah,
Damn.
it was insane watching him go through that. It was just like constantly in our
Get up at 8,
back
go to
room
bed
at our
at
house.
3.
Yeah,
Eight
and
to
I
bed
was
at
like,
3 a.m.
I was trying to keep myself busy. I've been like, I had to teach myself how to do like all the TikTok videos and video edit and all of that bullshit that I hate.
You will never catch me doing a TikTok video I just take my clips and throw it on there and call it a day.
Nope, I learned how to go through, and because I have to. A lot of the time I'm putting audio from our recorded tracks over videos or just like lining things up.
Well,
and,
that's marketing today. Like that is a staple point of marketing.
I never wanted to be a fucking business person though. I cannot stand it. I hate social media. I hate promotion. I have a lot of
Same.
trouble promoting anything I do because it's hard to take myself seriously, I guess. So it's like, and that's always been like a little bit easier, for the band. Like I've felt more comfortable making stickers like for the band. That's like, it's still my art, but it's like, oh, but it's not just about me. It's like this is a project that I'm part
It's
of.
the
So
brand.
It's a little bit easier, but it's still like
My brand.
it's still difficult. I don't know.
No, it's because that is probably my biggest pet peeve of doing all this. I love doing this. It's like that, like the best part of my fucking week. There's not even a question. But like going in and having to pull clips and having to pull reels, like what's gonna hit, what's not gonna hit. Do I think
Yeah,
this
what's the
is
right
whatever?
section? I've been wondering about that this entire time. I'm like, I wonder
Yeah.
like what parts like you're
So
gonna post.
so I get lucky sometimes, and like literally this morning when I pulled a reel that I posted today for the one that we did over the weekend, and I opened up my timeline on Premiere Pro and I was like, what's happening at this point? And I got lucky and I just hit it,
Nice.
and it was Nick talking about how he got recruited into the band. I'm like, that's a great section. I'm just gonna take that and call it a day.
Yeah.
But then other times, especially if it's like a 4-hour, 5-hour podcast, and I'm just like scrubbing, scrubbing, start, and going over and over, trying to figure out what was good. Like, and I noticed like I have to force myself, and it's easier to do now, like we were talking about a little earlier, how I've got AI to do it for me with the
Yeah,
editing.
at least that's taken out some of it. But
Yeah, but now it's like I have to force myself to start pulling content closer, like, because the further away that I get from recording, the quicker the conversation leaves my brain.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? 'Cause it's weird. Like, we will finish this conversation whenever we finish it, and you can ask me, what did we talk about? And I have amnesia.
yeah,
And I'll remember it tomorrow, but I will just have amnesia. So then it's like, okay, I need to look at this, like, no later than 24 hours after, start scrubbing, start going through to find shit.
yeah.
And then I should probably be more business-minded with, like, what are people going to like? What are other...
Well, and how long the clips are too. I always
Yeah.
try to make sure I'm not making too long of TikToks, especially because it's like people don't have. I'll look at like the data on our TikTok videos, and it's like I can't remember how they label it, but it's basically
retention
just
rate.
Yeah, retention rate. How long
Yeah.
people stay on your video. It's such horse shit. Like people will click away off of the video after 1 second, and I saw like advice online. It's like, yeah, try to make sure you're doing something engaging for the first 10 seconds of the TikTok. I'm like, no one stays on for fucking 10 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do?
Well, 'cause it's-
1 second to catch people.
Well,
I'm
you
like,
got to think, too, that, again, like we were talking about earlier, you can't take that personally.
I know,
Because
yeah.
and that's what I was kind of going with it was, I've just kind of said, fuck it, this is my thing, this is my brand. If people don't like it, then go fuck themselves. If they like it,
Yeah.
awesome, stick around for a little bit. But, with the retention stuff, like, and I catch myself doing it. I literally deleted TikTok last night, but then this morning I was like, fuck, I need that for the podcast. Shit. So I re-downloaded it. But
did you have drafts?
no.
Oh, good.
No, I
Because
don't
you would have
ever-
lost all of
No,
those.
yeah, I don't keep drafts. I just like post. Like literally, if the same thing on my Instagram or my TikTok is the same thing on my Instagram, I copy and paste
Yeah.
the captions and all that shit. But
That's fair, yeah.
but
Just
so
a
many
different
people, I catch myself doing it. So many people just doom scroll for, it could be for 15 minutes, it could be 20, 30 hour, right? And they're just going like this the whole time. And
Yeah.
then if there's like that hyper specific thing that catches their attention, they'll stop for like 5 seconds
Yeah.
and then keep going.
See, I don't know. I feel
going.
like I usually try to watch more of videos. Like, I have enough faith in my For You page that I'm like, no, this is going to be something that I want to watch and, like, stick it out for.
I
But
believe in my
I believe in
algorithmic
my
overlords.
algorithm, yeah. I
Praise be.
feel like that's worked out for me. Like, I am usually not very disappointed in the video I choose to watch. But
Well, your dopamine reserves are probably a little more better off than most people.
maybe.
Because literally I can lay there in my bed just going like that, and then I catch myself
Yeah.
20 minutes in, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my time?
See, I'm usually like engaged watching TikTok. I'm like having a blast. I'm like, this was so good, and I'm like so organized. I have like folders for everything. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah, she
this
got
is
your
gonna go in
favorite
home
folders.
decor, and this
So
is gonna go in
we're
fashion, and this is gonna go in food. And
90% of people are there for a distraction. You're there for an activity.
yeah.
That is rare. Fuck, that's funny.
But that fucks me up because like I think that other people do social media like that, and so I'm anticipating.
Yeah.
I'm like, why aren't people watching this? Like I put so much work into this, and they're
Yeah.
not even appreciating it. But it's like it's not about that, you know.
Yeah,
but I'm
it's-
just like, I beat myself up because I'm like, how can I possibly get someone to watch a video in 1 second? Like, what is a 1 second thing that I can do that's gonna hook someone
Yeah.
enough to watch the entire and it's only like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. It's not like it's long, but
Well, and when it comes, because now attention is the most valuable currency right now. So
And
30
I'm poor.
yeah.
I'm always poor.
Yeah, and 30 seconds of somebody's time on a TikTok and an Instagram reel or a YouTube, sometimes a YouTube short.
Yeah.
I'm still learning all this
All the
fucking
lingo.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Well,
But
they
yeah,
all have
you
the
know,
same thing because capitalism.
it's just people, they're asking them to spend 30 seconds on one of those videos. You might as well be asking for $30,000.
Yeah.
Really, you know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, and this is a really fucked up train of thought, but it's the truth. It's like I could spend 30 seconds on your video, or I could spend the next 30 seconds getting small tastes of 10 to 15 more videos.
But I feel like that's quantity over quality, and I'd so much rather do
Yeah.
quality over quantity.
That's the algorithm.
But that's how
I know.
That's
yeah,
the dirty
I don't know
algorithm.
Well, and that's
how
why we're
anyone does that because I can't even be on TikTok. I don't watch
Yeah,
a video
he doesn't
unless
like
it's
TikTok.
over like 10
Well, I wasn't on
minutes.
TikTok until I finally broke for the podcast, and I'm not even convinced.
Same with the band,
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm not even convinced it's helping that much. To be frank, I'm gonna see a little bit of how it does with because I've got some, including you guys, but I've just got some fucking bangers of gas going on between now and the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see how it goes between now and the new year. Same thing with my stand up. And if I'm not, I told my roommate this. David, he's upstairs. He's fucking addicted to TikTok.
Yeah.
And I give him shit all the time because he is. And he was like, "You need to do it. You get on." And it's gotten me a couple more listeners, a couple more followers, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
See, we've done decently well, but it's
Yeah.
like it's all about quantity over quality.
It's
Because
a
I mean,
slow grind.
they recommend posting at least one TikTok a day, if not
Well,
2 or 3.
So I've got a very good friend of mine. We've been friends since like middle school, and her full-time job is social media management.
See, I wish we could find someone
And-
to do that for us because I hate it.
And so I can give her Instagram when we get out of here because she's good at what she does.
Nice.
Nice.
And she again, she's very professional and she does all the like it's a full like month to month thing and shit like that. But anyway, God bless her. I'll hit her like, hey, what the fuck do you think about this? Like, what do
Yeah.
you think about that? And I just like pick her brain a little bit about things that I'm finding or things that I'm doing. I just like pick her brain a little bit. And we were having this conversation about TikTok, and she was telling me like, yeah, like on Instagram, one reel a day is fine, but TikTok, if you really want it to do well, you need to post like 2 to 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's not gonna happen.
I just had to
That's
pull
not gonna
myself
happen.
back because I was never gonna set myself up to do 3 a day, but I was doing 2 a day for a solid probably month and a half, 2 months, and I almost had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's too much. I've been able to keep up. It's been like the past 2 weeks or so now that I've pulled myself back and been like, we're just gonna do 1 a day.
Because I just feel like myself, sure, I have it for posting, but then I just find myself like it's taking more than it's giving to my life right now, or it's all the scrolling and the nonsense and the wasting time. And I'm like, fuck, I have better things to do with my
Well, and I
life.
still come up, I'm more like quality over quantity brain. So I'm
Yeah.
still like trying to be like, okay, but what's a good idea? Like, what is
Yeah.
good content we could be doing? And I
came up
can't
with-
be thinking like that, but it's just like, I have to like rewire myself to
Yeah.
like,
One of the first things we did that she just kind of had a random idea one day. She was like, I'm just going to film a TikTok of me just spinning in a circle and then like,
Yeah.
like 5 minutes. And then when I fall over, I'll speed it up and put it up and the caption's like, day
Day,
one,
blah, blah,
day one of
blah.
spinning in a circle till someone pays attention. Like
no,
someone,
till I get a tummy ache in a pathetic attempt to gain more traction and followers. I've had to write that caption a lot of times. So
just copy and paste it. Oh, I guess TikTok.
no, I can't copy what once
it
it's
in your
already
notes.
posted. Yeah, I guess I could, but it's
but-
kind of part of the process now.
So
I,
she
like,
made
type it all
that
out.
a little trend. We did it like 3 or 4 times, maybe more than that, but like a couple times, and it did whatever. And then now we do it a little more infrequently, but every time we do it, it does really well. Like
Yeah.
like relative to us, like it does like twice as good as our other videos. And so then we'll go to start filming stuff, and she's like, "All right, what's a good idea?" And I'm like, "We need to do a spinning video." She's like, "Do we really though?" And I'm like, "Yes, because it works." Like
I fucking hate them.
We hate
I'm
that it works. But
so
it works.
sick of it. I don't understand why that's working. Like, I don't think it's that entertaining. That's the video I'd skip. I'd look at that and be like, "Fuck you!" Like, this is just a way to get attention, and I get it. I get it. That's hard, but it's like it's not a good idea.
Well, it's funny because there's I'm assuming you guys have heard of Savings.
Yeah.
So Sam, what I've noticed is he has a lot of videos on his TikTok
Where
that
he's just
start-
standing there.
and it starts with the same opening of his fucking song every time. But what I've noticed
Change.
too, because at one point I was like, I've heard this opening 15 fucking times today. Is this working? And I like scrolled through his page and I watched 'cause you know how TikTok shows like the number of views on like the tiles and shit.
Yeah.
So I'm looking, and with each video where he's doing that, it went from like, okay, a couple hundred here, a couple thousand, okay, tens of thousands, and it just kept scaling.
Yeah.
Even when videos around that stayed in like the couple hundred, maybe 1,000 to 5,000 range, his where he did that opening, it just kept scaling.
Well, and honestly, I need to do that even more than I kind of already have. Like every spinning video, we use the same audio. It's always the change, and it's like the chorus. And I've used the change as an audio for like a bunch of different videos now. I mean, it probably still is like the most used audio on our TikTok. But you're scrolling through and it's like, I'll leave your memory. It's the same thing over and over again. It's so irritating.
So I feel like I know the answer, but why aren't you on TikTok? I think I know the answer.
Oh, just like why do I not use TikTok? I can't handle like the short stuff. I need longer stuff to really keep my attention.
You need an arc.
Yeah.
You need things to...
See, I have a short attention span. Like, I'll watch the whole TikTok, but yeah.
I'm not watching a video unless it's around like 10 minutes or longer.
What?
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
I can't.
You're keeping the podcast business alive single-handedly.
I have to be watching one of those Minecraft playthroughs. No, I don't actually watch those.
No, but I
think
feel
it's funny.
that because there's a podcast there's a podcast that I like watching, and it's called the Sean Ryan Show. He's a ex Navy SEAL, ex CIA guy, very well spoken, very like obviously military, but like very well spoken. And this dude goes for like 4, 5, 6 hours of a show. And I see the timestamp where it's like 5.5 hours, 6 hours, and I'm like, fuck.
That's an instant way to get me to not watch something.
That's a whole thing right there. That's crazy. So I totally get where your brain goes. And then, but again, the like reptilian part of my brain is just like, like drool's going down this way. There's blood coming out this ear. And I'm just like,
see, and I do that with like I read so many like crappy like clickbaity articles and stuff like that. Just
you're keeping that business
like,
alive too.
Reddit.
Okay.
Reddit.
I'm there for like bad short form content, just not any type of video. I don't do short videos.
Yeah, well, and that's what
You weren't a Viner?
No, I hated Vine.
I love Vine.
Oh.
Yeah, see, and all this is sprouted out because of Vine,
Uh-huh.
and that is what that's all.
Well,
that
before this,
marketing
it was
is now.
Musical.ly.
Well, that's what TikTok was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right, and they got bought out by the Chinese company, and now they're TikTok.
Yeah.
That's right. I had an ex a long time ago that had a Musical.ly. I haven't heard that name in a long.
I used to laugh at like the
time.
Musical.ly cringe videos, and I like knew some of them.
Holy shit!
But it was that was more, and TikTok kind of started off on this kind of territory as well, but it was like mostly lip syncing.
Yeah.
They really liked the like extreme like movements like with their
Because
phone.
it catches your attention.
And oh man, hate it.
Yeah. No, you talk about like the attention wars. I think of them like attention mining. It's like it really is like the commodity that everyone is exchanging. And so. And I think that's always been the case to some extent, but it's just like way more radical now. Because like you think like music wise, in the 80s, 90s, like any era before the internet was crazy. Like you get a band together, you write a couple songs, you play some gigs. Someone who has connections to a label notices you. You get a label record, and you kind of get going. And like.
And then they do all the management work for you, and you don't have to do it.
And then they take all your money.
I was gonna say, but those 360 contracts absolutely bleed you dry.
That's such a long process that, like, compared to now, there was such a few amount of people going for that. Like it was a much bigger like ambition to try and be a musician, to try and like make it. Whereas now it's like you can make an album on your phone, you can like produce it yourself, you can write it, you can like you don't even have to know how to play music or write music. You can like make loops on GarageBand. You can like make beats.
I think Steve Lacy is the one I was thinking about recently. He mixed and he like recorded all of his stuff on his phone like starting out.
And that's amazing, and it's super cool because not everyone has an outlet to express themselves. But now you have this like sea of people. There are 40,000 songs that get uploaded to Spotify every single day.
I'm surprised it's that small.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
To be
like,
frank,
we're
I'm shocked.
we're putting out 13 that took us 4 years to make on Saturday, and so it's like that's
it feels
gonna,
pretty pathetic, honestly.
Well,
It's not a bit pathetic, but it's like we're just this one little drop in all of this thing, and so like that's what all the competition is.
So
now.
I think about it the same way. I think it was, excuse me. I think as of February of this year, there was over like 2.8 million podcasts registered, right? And that's across all platforms.
Yeah.
But, and maybe this is me drinking a little bit of copium, but this is also a statistic that like 60 or like 80% of podcasts don't make it past episode 6. And then 90+% don't make it past episode 28.
Yeah.
Makes
Or
sense.
some shit like that. You know what I mean? So then I don't know how that extrapolates, and I don't know what the stats of that when it goes to music.
Yeah.
Right? It's just because you have so many different genres, you have so many different types. Like in the same way, like with podcasting, you have like conversational, you have like the true crime, you have all this, and then now we have like studios coming and doing it. Same thing with music. Like you have so many different genres and subgenres and subgenres and all that type of shit. But it's like how many people stick around for it? And like we were saying earlier with the pandemic, how many people started doing that? You guys probably know started doing music during the pandemic, and now what? We're 2.5 years later, right?
Yeah.
2 years later, and it's like, okay, what are they doing now? They just dropped the project,
Yeah.
regardless of if they played a venue or not, regardless if they bought all this nice equipment or all that nonsense, right? Whatever they did with their stimulus checks. Now that
I bought the PA actually that we use still.
you think this wasn't a little bit of stimmy money in here? Like, come on now.
No.
But
This is the stimmy room.
but you know, it's like you can think about it like that, where it's, well, how many other people are doing it, and how many that. Okay, yes, fair, true. But then also how many people are that started doing it and then stopped. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to like the overnight success, a lot of them aren't overnight successes. And then even the ones that are, don't worry about it, because this is what I tell myself: it's not you. So don't fucking worry about it. Like your parents aren't connected. Your parents don't have the connections to the studio, studio,
or parents buying all of their
whatever,
equipment or paying for them to get recorded
or paying for their wages to get the audition, or paying for them to like have the studio throw money at them.
Yeah.
Because that's how, like, it was funny. We did not a deep dive, but we kind of dived into it. This was like maybe a year ago, 2 years ago on the podcast, maybe even longer than that. I was doing the shit in my garage. We were, me and my buddy who also does music every now and again, we were talking about overnight successes. And I was like, where the fuck did Billie Eilish come from? That I don't know why that
her
came to
parents
mind.
were famous actors, or not crazy famous, but
Well,
like
her parents
successful enough.
Yeah, her parents were successful in LA, and they knew like the lawyers to a record company, and like that's what got them in the door, and that's
Oh, and
what
then her
happens.
older brother Phineas is like a producer. So.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't anything before they got
Oh, that's true.
right.
Yeah.
Like he had the ability to produce, but it's just like she had the singing voice.
Yeah.
But how many other motherfuckers in this country have a nice singing voice and are not even producers, but they have the ability to learn,
Yeah.
right? Like that's, you know.
The one I always think of is Lil Nas with
Yeah.
Old Town Road. Like,
Oh, nice.
and I haven't done, like, I haven't researched into that too hard, but like on the surface it's pretty easy to see. It's like, you know, he put out a song on SoundCloud and it just like had that viral energy. It just like had the thing, the unspoken thing that everyone apparently wanted to see in that moment, and that just like kept snowballing.
And he's a
until now
great performer.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
like-
I know plenty
Yeah,
of
and
people
that's not
who
to
are
take
great
away from
performers.
talent,
Yeah.
and that's not to
Exactly.
take away from ability. It's just some people have a bigger springboard than others.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have the springs, or the board, or the wood, or the platform to put a springboard on, and they're
Yeah.
just kind of figuring shit out.
Yeah. I think
Man,
of it
I
like,
wish I could figure out that secret unspoken thing that
Right.
everyone wants to
So
see.
does every marketer in the
No,
world,
I know.
every business owner ever. But like, I think of it like you have, like, if you're honest to yourself, and if you put in the effort to make something that you think is good, I think it's the only metric you can really follow is your own judgment of it.
Yeah.
I think if you're chasing that thing, if you're trying to figure out what the next cool thing is, or what does everyone want to hear.
Oh yeah, trust me.
then you-
I want to know what it is, but I'm also not gonna hunt for it.
Yeah,
I'd
when you
rather
do
do
that,
what
That's
I
That's
chasing.
wanna
That's
do.
chasing the purple dragon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're not gonna find
How
shit.
many times are you going to shoot up until you realize that you're not, that purple dragon does not exist?
Yeah. And so I view it as like you do all this work to put yourself at like the best position possible, so that if, and it's like a massive if, something comes your way, like an opportunity comes your way, whether it's like someone notices your album that has connections to a label, or you have like a viral moment on TikTok or on YouTube or something like happens, like just make your thing as good as it can be, so that if that does happen,
Yes.
people don't hear it and pass it off as a gimmick,
Yeah.
like, because it might go viral for a second, and then everyone's gonna be like, all right, move on.
You
Like
need to
Lil
have
Nas
staying
has
power.
stayed up there
So
because he was actually good.
This has a little bit of relevance to this conversation, so I'm not gonna say who, because I'm still friends with this person. I just think this is a very dumb decision for him to tell me this.
Yeah.
So last night I had a fun phone conversation, and it's a buddy of mine who likes putting together like how do I be vague about this? He does coordinating in the city.
Okay.
At a certain scale, he does coordinating, and he hits me up because I'm doing comedy now, and he goes, "Hey man." Here's the long story short of it is he goes, "Hey man, I have a great idea. We need to get you going viral on TikTok and social media. So what we're gonna do is I can get like 30 minutes booked at Inside Out. Let's get a couple of mid-level comedians together to get a show going.
Wait,
I'm gonna get."
real talk though, how is he gonna get 30 minutes booked at Inside Out? We can't even get a gig at Inside Out.
He knows the people.
And other people.
Yeah, and he
Wait,
goes.
we know them. They just don't like us.
And he goes, "Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to do that, and then I'm going to plant 40 to 50 of my friends in the audience, and they're going to intentionally laugh at your jokes." And I was like, I've had a long day at work, and I'm on my third beer. What I think is rude is going to come off as asshole-ish. So I'm just not even going to acknowledge you just said that. You know what I mean? It's like, no. So like, I thought about that, and I called my other buddy, and I won't name who. And I was like, "Dude, this is what just happened." Is that's a dumb fucking idea. Don't you dare do that. And it's stuff like that where it's like, you're gonna get pitched really stupid things.
Yeah.
For instant or like the very very short term potential value.
Yeah.
But then again, when you do get recognized by someone decent, it's like time to, all right, what are you made of?
Yeah, you still gotta have it.
Show me what you're actually made of, and then you go flop, and it's like, oh well, obviously either that big moment you had was a fluke, or you completely staged it, figured it.
Yeah.
Either way, you're done. No, thank you, and they kind of push you to the side. So no, it's interesting trying to play the social media game, playing that sphere.
I suck at it, man. Like I just.
Interesting is a word.
I think
for it.
I know exactly what everyone doesn't want to see in any given moment.
No, that's me, dude. I'm like when I'm an album guy. Like I consume music through albums. So like I was like, so I want every song. I'm the kind of guy who likes songs that have like 2-minute long intros of like,
oh my
like
god,
just sound, just like kind of preparing you for the music, and that does not fly in the playlist world. Like in order for songs to go to have that viral motion on Spotify, like they need to be able to get on those big playlists that are curated and they need to hold that interest real quick. And so
and it's funny you say that because Avenged Sevenfold, they just put out their new album and they got absolutely fucking shat on by like 70% of people because of how experimental that album is compared to everything else they've put out. I don't know if you guys have heard that album yet at all.
Who did you say?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah, so they're very much like borderline thrash, but like heavy metal. And then the last album they did was called The Stage. It was very experimental. People still passed it, thought it was good. Okay, so all right, fine, great. This next album, it's kind of like old school Avenged, some newer stuff, and then the second half, it just flies off the rails. And again, like 80% of people absolutely hated it. No matter the fact that these guys have been around since the mid to late 80s, and they are one of the most successful rock bands of all time.
People don't like change, though. I mean, people want something they already know what to expect.
Exactly.
And that's killed me, because that's another thing, I feel like a lot of the time being successful as a local band and the way to get yourself up is to do covers. And I don't want to be a cover band, I want to play the songs that I spent a lot of time writing and poured myself into.
What I would say to that, and again, I'm not a musician, I'm talking way out of my ass, and this is me just being friends with musicians and seeing what they're doing. You're completely right.
Yeah.
Like, covers is what like grabs people's attention.
Because people already know the songs.
People
They
know the
don't want
songs.
something new. They want something they can sing along to.
Right, exactly. Especially if they're paying money to go see a local band. There's a part, because Albuquerque is one of the cities, and whether I've seen this in music, I've seen this in comedy, where a lot of the audiences, they go into a show with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and it's entertain me, bitch.
Yeah.
And then not only that, I want you to put on a performance at the level of the people that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I want you to put on. So I'm going to pay $10 to see a local show, but I want the experience of paying $300 for a huge banner to sled up. Figure it out.
Yeah, figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, and then so that's just what I see from from audiences in general.
But even if you give a performance your all and it can be your best performance, it's still like people are complacent. They don't want to like actually branch out or like try something new.
Right. And so, but my point with covers though is that they're when utilized well, that can grab attention from the audience, that can either hook them in or keep them sucked in.
Yeah.
But you need to do covers that revolve around the same genre of music you are.
Yeah.
Right? That flow the same, that act the same. Obviously not identical, but they need to be in the same ballpark.
See, but then that's kind of hard because we do have a pretty varied sound. So
Yeah.
it's been hard for us to choose covers in the past. Like,
Well, because the other thing too is we mentioned like you want to do covers that people are going to recognize. You know,
Yeah.
so like
Yes.
a lot of our influences are
Yeah,
indie
I like
artists. They're
indie,
smaller
like-
bands that like have an audience somewhere. Someone in this town likes them, but like the chance that they're the ones who are walking into the bar, you know,
Right.
on this particular
like, have you heard of
Friday.
Joe? DJO Joe. He was one of the actors on Stranger Things. Played Steve.
Harrington.
But
He's got a band.
The Heartthrob. Yeah.
he's an art. Yeah, he's like a producer. He like
That's
mixed. Yeah,
He made a whole album in his basement
but
with
the end of
50
Better
CDs
is like
since-
influenced by Roddy. One of his songs.
Oh yeah, I had Steve Harrington has a fucking band. Look at that.
It's pretty damn
really good.
That's
Honestly,
crazy.
I mean, I'm a big fan. But yeah, no, I mean that's like probably one of my favorite artists. Like,
Yeah, so it's like it.
no one
it's-
knows him.
It's hard to pinpoint, you know, something that's like could be recognizable, but is also going to complement us.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. It's like totally like covers are what pay the bills for like
Yeah.
90% of musicians. You know, either that or what I consider like experiential music. Like it's music that you just like. You know, if you go to a Latin night at a bar somewhere, you don't need to know
Yeah.
the songs. You just need to have.
You're there for the environment.
You need to have
Yeah.
that salsa feel, that Latin feel. Same thing for, you know, if you go to a jazz show or like that's why I like the DIY
Or a
scene is-
punk show. Yeah,
DIY
punk
for
is
punk
doing
and metal
so
has gone
well here
crazy
because
'cause people-
everyone they know what kind of vibe you're gonna get
Yeah.
at a show like that.
Right.
There's
So
not
when-
really an indie scene, and I mean, even if there were like an indie scene, indie is so broad. Like, I don't think you could really have that.
Yeah, you can't have like you don't know exactly what you're going to get into just by knowing what kind of
Yeah,
show
because
it is.
indie could be like
know?
Group Love versus like Tame Impala or
Yeah.
Glass Animals.
And so it's these are like interesting challenges, but like I still think we've as a band have agreed, not always like spoken, but it seems to always be the case that we would rather go for what feels good for us, even if it's not the fastest way to climb the ladder. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you can't. I mean, obviously there's things you can rely on to help you out, but I mean the more you lean into I'm gonna do this thing not because I want to, because I feel like it's gonna catapult us in some kind of way, or it's gonna help move us further. The more you lean into that, the more you're not gonna like what you're doing.
Oh, and it's just gonna be yeah.
And then your personality's not there, and then it becomes
Yeah.
fake, and then the audience knows, and then it's like, oh, these guys are just caricatures. These are
Yeah.
hollow puppets dancing on a stage making music. It's not. They clearly don't love what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they don't love it, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely sticking to like what you know, what you care about. That may or may not take more time, but that payoff is way more, and it means
sure,
a lot more.
yeah.
You know, 'cause it's you that earned it, right? You didn't just fought like. Sure, it'd be nice if there was a fucking blueprint. Like, okay, I have to check these boxes with passion, with passion,
The pen stroke.
and I'm gonna make it. But no, it's all that's part of the fun is figuring that shit out, and that's part of the fun of living in the South Valley, right there. Before we get out of here, when is the album coming out? Is it gonna be on like Spotify, Apple, Google,
all
stuff?
streaming platforms. Saturday, August 19th is when it comes out, and we'll be having a show the same night at Echoes Brewery.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, what time is like what? Because Echoes is off of what, like 3rd and Gold?
Something
Yes,
like that,
yeah.
Right?
I think exactly. I think you
So
nailed
we're
it.
gonna do doors open at 7. Music's gonna start at 8. We have bands called The Directory and Youngsville. Who are
Yeah.
both really awesome bands.
Cool.
Super cool dudes too. They're opening for us, and then we're gonna finish out the night. We're gonna be basically playing the majority of the album.
Yeah, the only two we're not playing are "Do You Think of Me?" because that's really hard to do live, and "Puppeteering Hand."
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so this drops on Friday, so new album tomorrow.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Tomorrow. Midnight, actually. So if you're,
Yeah.
a night owl, you're probably already there.
Yeah, you can already do it.
All right, sick. Well, I appreciate you guys spending time and come down. This has been a lot of fucking
Yeah,
fun.
thank you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been a blast. Thank you guys for listening and watching as always, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.